In this lesson, we'll finish our banking control by setting up expressions to control our pivot points. So the first thing we'll do is figure out what direction each pivot point needs to rotate in. Let's go ahead and start with the left foot. We'll grab one of our groups, and then we'll grab our rotate gizmo. So right now I have the initial group selected. Let's go ahead and start to rotate. You see that it's the y-axis we need to tie it down. You'll also see that it's the positive direction we need to move in. We need to also make sure that when we start to move in the negative direction that we cause the expression to zero out this object, so it will never move in the wrong direction. Alright, if we were to undo back and press page up to get to the next pivot point, clearly it's the negative y we need to rotate in. Good stuff. Alright, let's go ahead and alt-right click and use transform to 0 to bring this pivot back. We're ready to now set up a custom parameter. Let's add that to our leg control. So with that selected, we'll press Alt-1 to grab our parameter editor. We're going to work with a float type, and we're going to go ahead and name this parameter bank. Alright, let's go ahead and set the from field to -100, and we'll leave the to field at +100. This should give animators more than enough room. Alright, let's go ahead and now choose add. It's now time to set up our expression. Let's go ahead and grab one of our groups again. Again, we should have the very first group we made selected. We'll head over to our motion panel, and underneath assign controller, we'll go ahead and find our rotate Y controller. So again, that's 0 Euler Y. And let's now assign a float expression to it. So the next thing we need to do is create a variable, and that variable will hold the path to our bank parameter. So go ahead and type in bank. Alright, let's go ahead and create it. And now we're ready to assign our controller to it. So with it highlighted, we'll choose assign to controller, and we'll go ahead and find that parameter. Here's our global control. Let's go ahead and expand the outside of it to get to the objects that we've parented to it. And here is our left leg control. Alright, let's go ahead and expand the inside to get to its properties. And from here, we'll go to modified object, extra controls, custom attributes, and here is bank. Alright, let's go ahead and now choose OK. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at our function list. We're going to need to work with a conditional function to make sure that the bank will work. So you can see how it's formatted. After typing in if, we'll need to put in open and close parentheses, and then we type in our condition within. Let's go ahead and start to build this. So I'll close out of the functions list. Let's go ahead and get rid of this number we see here, and we'll type in if, and we'll put in open and close parentheses. Alright, now within, we basically need to say that this object needs to rotate in the positive direction. If that's not the case, we want it to be zeroed out. So let's type in as follows. Again, within the parentheses, we'll type in bank greater than 0. So if our bank parameter is greater than 0, then we want that parameter to control this pivot point. So put a comma, space, and then we'll go ahead and type in bank to let the system know that the bank should control this object. Alright, following that, we'll put another comma, a space, and then we'll go ahead and type in 0 to let the system know that if we get to a value less than 0, well, we just want to zero out that pivot point. Now let me go ahead and show you something. It's very important that we spell everything correctly. If I were to go ahead and leave out something in this expression, let's say if I were to get rid of one of those parentheses and choose debug, you'll see that we have a warning just letting us know that something is wrong. And I'll go ahead and choose OK. Now if I were to go ahead and add that mark back, just closing out the parentheses, now when we choose debug, there's no longer any warnings. And we also have some information as to what our bank value is equal to. So right now it's zeroed out. Alright, great. So let's now go ahead and evaluate the expression, and we're ready to start using our bank parameter. So watch this. When we grab our leg control, take a look. We can now start to use the bank, and as we start to move in the positive direction, it works. When we move in the negative direction, it will not work. How cool is that? Right now, the control is a bit harsh, so let me go ahead and show you how to tweak that. Let's go ahead and right-click on our bank parameter to zero it back out. We'll go ahead and select that same group again, head over to our motion panel, and select our rotate Y-axis. From there, let's go ahead and right-click and choose Properties. So all we need to do is work with our degrees to radians function before the second bank here. If we were to go to our function list, you'll see exactly how it should be typed. Lowercase d, capital T, capital R. And then we'll want to put bank in parentheses. All right, so let's go ahead and set this up. We'll go ahead and put bank in parentheses. All right, great. And then just before this, we'll go ahead and type in deg to rad. Again, that's lowercase d, capital T for 2, and capital R for rad. Now let's go ahead and evaluate this and start to test this out. Watch this. When we start to use the bank parameter, you'll notice we have much better control now. How neat. All right, so we have an idea as to how to set up the expression on the opposite side. Let's go ahead and grab that group. I'd like to show you something. If you ever want to remove the expression from it, simply go ahead and highlight that controller, and you can go ahead and choose Bezier float to bring it back to where it was before. So no longer is there an expression tied to that object. I'll go ahead and press Ctrl Z to undo that back. But what we can do is go ahead and grab that rotate Y controller, right click and choose properties, and we can go ahead and copy everything that we've done here to save some time. Alright, so now it's just a matter of going to our next pivot point. Let's go ahead and press page up. We're using the same axis, only this time we need to tell the expression that we need to rotate in the negative direction. So it's going to be 0 Euler Y. Let's go ahead and highlight that and assign a float expression controller. Let's go ahead and paste in everything, and instead of the greater than sign, we'll go ahead and work with the less than operation. All right, from there, we'll go ahead and type in the name of our variable. We need to create it. And now let's go ahead and assign it to that same bank parameter. So it's great that 3ds Max kind of remembers our path. It should be very easy to go ahead and find that bank parameter. Let's now go ahead and choose OK and evaluate. So instantly you can see that we've managed to set up our banking control. Let's go ahead and test this out. We'll go back to our modify panel and take a look. Now everything's controlling just fine. Beautiful stuff. All right, so we've managed to set up banking control, working with a few pivot points, and we've also learned how to work with a condition statement. So I'm going to leave the right side up to you. The great thing is that we're using the exact same steps and the exact same expression. So what we used on this side of the foot, we're going to use that same expression for that side on the character's right foot, and so on and so forth. All right, so again, the right side should be really simple to set up. I'll leave that up to you. And in the next lesson, we'll talk about axis orders.